Hey guys, so welcome to, I guess, the relaunch of DISENRAGE, which is a podcast that I started a long ass time ago. And basically, the idea of DISENRAGE is that I wanted to have a place where I could have conversations that were not political, that maybe discuss spirituality and aliens and origins of life and the meaning of life and like all those cool things that I like and do like in the real world, but that I don't usually get a chance to talk about online. Now, the reason that we're bringing DISENRAGE back is because, well, you guys may have noticed that nothing remotely controversial has sadly gone away. Now, this was not my choice. I didn't, and the reason I'm saying this is not to throw Joshua under the bus, but I've just got a lot of questions about it. Like, I really wish it hadn't ended the way it did, and I really like want to emphasize that because it did just end out of nowhere. It wasn't my choice. Go complain to Joshua. All right. Now I will tell you that there's no animosity between him and I. There wasn't like a fight. I know the internet likes to have these like there really wasn't anything like that. But you know what? Life goes on. And we had really 4 good years of shows, and I appreciate him and I appreciate the time we spent together, but we got to do something new. And I was really happy after some people in my community found out that nothing remotely controversial was going away. Immediately they suggested that we bring back DISENRAGE because it was actually something that a lot of people in my community enjoyed, and they immediately suggested the co-host that I'm going to bring on. And I got to say, I don't know that I would have thought of this myself, but I was absolutely thrilled at the idea. And I love it. And I'm so glad that she has agreed to join me on this because I absolutely love Jennifire. Yep, Nick is here for Jennifire. Just like you guys all like Joshua more than me, you're all going to like Jennifire more than me too, I promise, if you haven't met her. So I want to welcome our new co-host for DISENRAGE, was going to be on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Jennifire, welcome to the show.
Hello. Hello.
Do you know what you're getting into?
Well, I mean, I've watched her journey since it pretty much began. And so I can say yes and no. One can always think they know what's going to happen. That doesn't mean that we do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera. I'm still fucking with my camera. Don't worry about me. Just don't mind me here.
Yeah. Well, I will say that the advantage you have is that, we actually have like met in person. You've seen my like offline, I guess, self. I've slept on your couch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I suppose, yeah, and
time.
I definitely didn't get drunk off of the rum that your husband definitely doesn't distill in your basement. That absolutely did not happen. Nope, did not happen at all. And so I mean, at least like you have some like I guess clue of what you're getting into. But I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. I really did think it was like a great idea. I was so excited the minute that someone suggested it, and so I think we're gonna have a really good time doing the show together.
I think so too. We have so much to talk about. We like when you were here, I felt like we were focused on the queer agenda thing that was happening in Boulder, and we didn't get a lot of time to just chat. And I know some people think, oh, they hung out for 3 days. Well, yeah, but most of that was
didn't.
It was mostly in meetings, and then we went to dinner, which was nice.
That was beautiful.
Amazing
dinner. Amazing dinner. One of the best dinners I've ever had.
Yeah, one of those dinners that like you definitely need to take pictures of your food. And there was like 8 or 9 courses with little aperitifs in the center, in the middle.
It was just like, and they even brought you a little like cake to have for breakfast the next morning as you were leaving. I was like, man,
it's like a little poppy seed. Loaf. Yeah.
It was
so good. Awesome. And then they gave us because I told them it was a special occasion. There was like 3 or 4 desserts, the chocolate thing. Remember that?
Yes.
They just kept bringing, oh, it's a special occasion. You're meeting each other for the first time. And we're like, oh my God, what is there? And then they brought the cakes out and it's like, where's the bucket?
I have never been to, and I've been to some fancy dinners before. I have never been to a restaurant that did it was not only like they kind of sell it to you as like this 4-course thing and you pick a thing, but then they always bring something in between the courses. And there were like 3 different dessert courses and like even the coffee at the end of the night. Like the thing that I was probably most impressed by was they bring you out this little tray and it has 9 different kinds of things that you can use to sweeten your coffee, like all these different sugars and chocolate chips and like whatever. And I was just like, there's literally nothing else that I want. I'm good. I'm awesome. Yeah.
I just wanted the sugar tray because it had white chocolate chips, milk chocolate chips, dark chocolate, 3 different kinds of sugars in 3 different formats. Oh yeah, I just wanted to eat that.
Yeah, no.
And cream.
It was awesome. Well, I definitely want to make sure we do talk more about like just, like generalities, but like one of the things that people really did want to hear about, and cuz we were just talking about me, coming out to Boulder, and for people who don't know, Jennifire helped me go undercover at the Transforming Gender conference at the University of Colorado. That's why I ended up sleeping on her futon. And I mean, like one of the things that happened, and I've talked about this before, is that I feel that I got, and I'm being a little bit silly when I say this. I don't think I actually got possessed by a demon, but like there was some weird energy thing that happened to me during that conference where like I was sitting in, and just to retell the story for people who don't know, I was sitting in on this session about how multiple personality disorder is a gender identity. And this is just one of the most crazy things I've ever seen in my life. I've covered it on the channel. You guys have the whole recording. And in the course of me having to sit in the front row of that and look completely normal the entire time, I feel like I took some sort of demonic entity into my body, and I was tweaking for like 2 straight hours after this. And Jennifire can attest to this because she's going to talk about her point of view. And to the point where Jennifire made me bend over a rock in the middle of downtown Boulder and excised me of this demon. It was real, and it was my lived experience. And I know people don't believe it, but it was real. And so I thought we could talk about your perspective on that.
Well, I tell you, for what, first of all, in Boulder, seeing somebody hug a rock is not an unusual thing. It's just
No.
not.
I was not self-conscious about it, for the record, either. I was just like, anything I need to do to get this demon out of me, I will do it right now. I don't care.
I think what was to begin at the beginning, as soon as, because it was the right before lunch.
Yeah.
So it was like the last thing you did right before lunch. And I had gone to I think it was like something about like sexuality, queer sexuality, or something, like the safe space for queer sexuality. It was a lot of fluffy bunny and accepting and communication on that. And then you came out and you were just like altered from the beginning. Definitely altered. You looked rattled and pale, which alarmed me. And I could already tell like your energy was, how do I explain it? It's hard to describe how something feels, vibrationally off. So it was, you were jittery. Usually you feel very calm because you're a naturally centered person. So you felt off, like you were struggling. And I immediately put myself in a place of grounded calmness and started radiating some comfort. And I even like, I don't know if you noticed my voice like even dropped. I'm like, what happened? How's it going? How are you doing, baby? Like
I don't think I noticed anything because it was like how you're describing it. Like my whole body felt like it was shaking, and I was just like,
Yeah. And so we went to the parking lot, and you were like, fuck this, get me out of this, get me out of here right now. Like you were just swearing all the way to the car, which you parked at the ass end of the lot for some fucking reason. And so we had a ways to walk, and we got some lunch. And the whole time that you're just like, something happened to me. I don't even know what that was. Oh my God, you would not believe these people are crazy. These people are insane. And you just went, blah, 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 blah. So I just sat. I'm like, okay, get it out. And then you think during lunch you thought something had overtaken you, and I'm like,
Well, and let me just go like back, because I was like, it's one of those things where like I've been through this crazy shit a couple times where like, this happened to me at the socialism conference too, where I kind of tweaked out for a bit, and then I went and I got some food and I had a drink and you calmed down, and I really thought that like when we went to lunch, I was like, okay, we're gonna go get some good food. We're gonna go get some comfort food. Like I remember like that was very important to me at that point. I was like, I need like the greasiest comfort food, and I need a beer stat. And so I was like, I really thought that I would calm down, and it just didn't go away. And I was just like tweaking the entire time.
Yeah, you caught the energetic ick for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was coding you. It was starting to invade you. I think when you're confronted with just ideas that are abnormal, your brain is like, I need some time. And like a beer and a burger help, that pretty much it'll ground and center you. But when there's an entity or entities, because I think it was more than one, start to attach, that is a whole new level of invasion. And you can't just eat and calm down from that. You have to actually do some work. And I've had that happen before, but I've been doing this for so many years that I just automatically shielded, and you completely forgot to put your shields up. Yes. So you got attached to. And so after lunch we went and touched some crystals. Remember that crystal shop?
I do remember the crystal shop. There was some really good amethyst in that crystal shop.
Oh, yeah. It was a really bougie crystal shop too. I was kind
Very
of
expensive.
disappointed.
Yeah.
There's usually places you can go where they just have crystals in baskets, like a metaphysical bookstore. But I think we had to go a different direction to find it. But that was the closest thing we found. And they had like beautiful obelisks, and they had spheres and all kinds of gazing balls and things. And it helped, but it wasn't the cure. It wasn't the help you needed.
So can we go back? I just want to make sure we're bringing everyone along with us. So when you say like I had like multiple entities, and maybe I just want more information as well. When you say I had like multiple entities attached to me, like what does that actually like mean for people who might not be us?
So the spirit world is thick. It's everywhere, and there's as above so below. So there's millions of spirits just constantly around, and sometimes they are independent, sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're malevolent, sometimes they're benevolent, and sometimes they hang out with people. And if they like you and they're interested in you, they might go over and start like a bird to bird seed, like, oh, what's this? Tick, 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 kind of like that's what I think happened. They kind of felt your horror and went, oh, that's delicious. Let's check that out. And so you were like an open bird feeder, and all the little spirits are like, hey, check this shit out. And they were picking on you because you're delicious. That's the best analogy I can think of at the moment, but it definitely was more than one. You didn't have an entity. I don't think it was as powerful as a demon per se, but it was malevolent. Some of it was curious. I didn't think all of them were particularly harmful, but they were definitely not good for you.
Yeah. That was, I mean, and I can't describe the experience. It was like, like the best I can describe is it was extremely hard for me to focus.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like my eyes were just going like all over the place. I could not focus like a line of sight on anything. My whole body felt like it was shaking. I couldn't, and I couldn't stop it was the thing. And that was the thing that's really frustrating for me is I felt like I was complete, because I'm like kind of a control freak in real life. Like I felt like I was completely taken out of control, and there was just like nothing I could do about it.
Mm-hmm. I felt there was one in particular behind you with its head. Oh, like, let's see if I can do this because the camera's got me going the wrong direction here. But it was kind of behind you, and it was like I could see a head, like almost like a cloak shape head and shoulders. And
it was a demon.
And I don't know if we would go that far, but it was definitely a dark entity, and it was kind of behind you, like what's going on with this person, kind of thing.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. I didn't say that before, but yeah.
This is the first time Jennifire's ever told me this, by the way.
I saw a black, well, it's not, okay, when I say see, I don't mean actually saw. I mean, it's like feel seeing, like you get the impression mentally. And there was a shadow behind you. And then there were other things swirling through your energy. So I didn't want to scare you. That's what I want to talk about.
Well, it's probably good. It's probably good we're doing this on the internet, because at least you are getting my genuine reaction of like, because I've been joking the entire time. Well, not joking, but like, like I haven't actually been serious when I'm saying a guy was possessed by a demon. And now you're telling me I had a shadow entity behind me in a dark cloak.
Yeah. Well, the reason it looks like a cloak is because I'm not seeing it clearly. I'm just seeing it. I'm seeing its general vaporous form. And I wouldn't say it's a shadow person, because shadow people generally don't get involved directly with direct contact. But in this case, there was one that was bigger and badder than the others. And then there were other little ones, like I said, the bird feeder. But this one was definitely like, what's going on here? And he came from somebody in that room.
I bet it was the presenter, to be honest.
It could have been.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it felt like a denizen. And what I mean by that is an entity that is around a certain person, and then they go out and they check the people around them, and you were a threat.
Well, I mean, that actually makes sense that it would have been the presenter then, because for people who maybe need to get caught up, like the presentation I was in, again, it was literally about how multiple personality disorder is a gender identity, and the person presenting it had, and I know it's called dissociative disorder, but I think more people understand what I'm saying when I say multiple personality disorder. The presenter had multiple personality disorder, said they had 7 entities within them. But we only got to meet 2 of them during the presentation, and they actually switched back and forth between the 2. So it would make sense. I mean, I was there undercover. I was secretly recording them. So it makes sense that if that person had some sort of like entity attached to it, and they were like sending it out to like, and they don't do this consciously, of course. Like this person is not altogether like, this person is not aware of what's going on.
No.
But so I don't want to like,
what makes that so dangerous, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and I'm not trying to accuse that person of malevolence. I think that person needs to go to therapy, but I'm not trying to say they're a bad person or anything, or several people. But like, it would make sense that like, if I'm the only person there that's like secretly recording them undercover, then I would be a threat to that person.
Yeah, I think, and I don't think this is one of the ones that came forward. I don't think it comes forward frequently. I think this if it is in high energetic side, if you can, there, and people believe energy is timeless.
Mm-hmm.
So you can send it through time, and you can do readings through time that way. It doesn't mean that it's set in stone. It doesn't mean you're right either. But the sensation I'm getting is that this entity is an influential entity that whoever it belonged to didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
It felt it, but it didn't understand what it was. And so this thing was checking you out. Now, it wasn't behind you the whole time. I just saw it a couple times. I was like, okay, something hanging. And then it would kind of melt down and disappear. And then it would hang out like down at shoulder level, because it is vaporous. And then it would kind of peek up, and it's looking at me. That's why I was looking over your head. And I was like, I don't think so, buddy. Because I don't let that shit. I don't let it. If I'm onto it, I don't let it. And as we left and we were walking, so now I'm going to take us from the crystal shop. Mm-hmm. We watched a little magician guy. Wasn't that what he was? He had like I
don't even remember that, to be honest. Like, I know we were walking through downtown Boulder, and I know there was some sort of like street person doing a show or something, but yeah. I don't remember any of it.
Yeah, he was kind of he was doing some things with like fire on the sticks, that kind of thing, and he was doing tricks and things. And then there was a park with like a fountain that we could walk, but the fountain was dry because it was the wrong time of year, obviously. And there's some trees. And I'm thinking because you were asking for help. You weren't saying I need help, but you started to kind of vocalize it, but I could feel it in your energy anyway. But you're starting to think like, I need to ground, I need to center, I need to do something. And I'm thinking, I'm looking around already. And while we were watching that magician, I was looking at that park going, we need to walk through that park. Because we could run straight down to the road.
But you told me, like, just kind of like again back up, like, I think you told me that like when we were walking through there, like crazy people were starting to be attracted to me.
There was you were like follow us.
Yeah, talk about that.
So if we go through the park, there's trees and things that I can start pulling some good juicy energy from, and there's as we got about just to the fountain, which is in the center of the park, and this guy, and I think he was wearing like black jeans and he looked homeless. That doesn't mean he was homeless, but he had that vibe.
Yeah.
And he had his hands in his pocket, and he just started following us. And because I saw him, he was standing to the side, and I saw him kind of do one of these and then like look at us. And then he pushed off from where he was leaning and started following us. And I went, this is what I did. Behind my back, I went, well, let me see if I went like this.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I thought, away. And he stopped, turned around, and went the other direction. And I told you, there's a man following us. I think I got rid of him. Oh, good. He listened. And I said that out loud to you. I said, that's good, because I don't want to confront this asshole. And that's when we got to just about we saw a little squirrel who found like the end of an ice cream cone or something. And I'm like, oh, look, nature. And then that's when we got to the edge of the building, and I started hunting for something you could grab, because I'm like, we got to deal with this, because you are not stable. And I'm not letting you go through the rest of that craziness at that meeting with this on you, because you're just going to get more, and it's just going to fuck you up more.
And then what happened? And then found the rock, and then you made me bend over the rock.
There was this brownstone building. Oh, goodness. Sorry. I'm getting Discord notices. Forgive me.
Shut down your Discord during the show, Jennifire.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Well, I had it on because that's where the link was to get here. I meant to do that too. Let me just log out.
Oh, good.
He's okay. He's better. So the back of this brownstone, and I'm not sure what building it was, but it had a lot of buildings in Denver are kind of rough hewn. It looks like pink stone, but we call it brownstone. And they're really beautiful, kind of our mountainy architecture kind of stuff. And there were these huge, they were about this thick. They were, let me see, that's about 4 or 5 inches thick, big. And they were kind of almost in the shape of a tombstone, like just kind of diagonally lined against the back with some pink rocks underneath it. And that was sort of their xeriscaping at the back of this building. and there was a street and a parking lot, or the where the cars were parking against the street there. So on the left are these big stones, and I found one and I went, that's the one. And the reason I wanted this is because the stone is dug into the ground, anchored in the earth. And that's what you needed. You needed I wanted to give you a circuit, something that I can work with and that you can work with to get rid of and recharge. Because once you get rid of, you have to recharge. If you don't recharge, anything can fill that void.
Right.
So that's when I said, go hug that rock. And you were like, okay.
I was just following orders at that point. I was like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck Jennifire tells me. I don't care. Like, if you had told me to take off my clothes, like, in the middle, I probably would. I don't know that I would have done that. But, like, let's not maybe go that far. But I probably would have done almost anything at that point.
Yeah. Well, you had to get rid of the ick. And I know it was starting to kind of burrow into you a little bit and really starting to affect your inner energy and your mind. And that's when you get dangerous, because if they can make an attachment, then you're bringing it back to my house, and we just can't have that.
No.
And to your house, and you don't want that. So I had you hug the rock, and you just literally hugged it, you know.
I bent over the rock and I held on for dear life is what happened.
Yep, it was perfect. And I think I came over to where your head was, and I put my hands, and this is for me, it's a double, it's one of the Reiki positions. I'm a Reiki master, so this is one of the positions that we can use over the back. So it's like, if we were doing it on the front, it's kind of like this, but I did it like right at the top of where your neck, or at the bottom where your neck meets your shoulders. And from that position, I can reach directly to chakras, but I also have a pipeline to your whole meridian down your spine. And with my body presence over your head, I'm physically arcing over and into you.
And what did you do exactly? So here's what I felt when you were doing what you were doing is I definitely felt like all the energy kind of sank into my feet, and then my feet, and so then my body started feeling normal again. So I like the tweaking kind of stopped, like the buzzing kind of stopped, but it was all in my feet. So I felt like all this like buzzing. It felt like it was almost like density in my feet. So I was like, okay, it's at least moving down my body. We're making progress now. It's almost in the ground. And then you told me like just push everything into the ground, and then it did.
So where I start is I originally become what I call the pipeline. So as a Reiki master, we never use our own energy ever, ever, ever. We use Reiki, which is the universal energy of light. So that comes down like I am in the pipeline. I am the conduit. I neither take nor give. I only cause the flow. I only help the flow. So I did my white light from above, my pipeline into me, right down into my arms. And I began to clear you. And I think I put my hand on your head too, just to kind of help begin at the top, push towards the bottom. Because if we can get it to move down into the earth, we have to clear your body down into the earth, like running a filter through you, pushing the negativity and the darkness down. And when I got it to, like, I think your center to lower back, I think that's when I moved, because that's what you would do. You would work down the body. And so I worked down the body to your sacral spot, gathered it there, and then just began to push it energetically down your feet. And when I felt the flow from the rock, because I was pulling, I'm like pulling from the rock, pushing it into your body, and then wanting it to go down your feet, down your legs to your feet, into the earth. And once I felt that circuit was beginning to form, and then that's when I said, okay, breathe and push this out of your feet. Because I knew you were following it beautifully. You're a great energy mover naturally. And it was really pleasant, actually. I love when I come across someone who can move energy really well. It's just like, woo, it's being in flow. It's great. So you got it all the way down to your feet. And I said, get rid of it. And you did it.
See, I sometimes feel like I'm not good at that stuff, because like I can feel it sometimes, and a lot of times I just can't. But like people have told me the same thing. Like I like, because like I understand how it works. I've meditated, I practice with it, all that stuff. But like I don't feel like I feel it as intensely as you do. So I doubt it sometimes.
I just have a bigger antenna.
Yeah.
That's all. But you have the ability. You're natural with it. Some people have a hard time moving energy. They don't have the concept, the grasp of it, but you kind of naturally get it. And so you are good at it. Now, if you had a little bit of training, a little bit of tuning, you would then be able to control it a lot more viscerally.
I sometimes think about wanting to do that because, like, I mean, I did like the Reiki level 1, like certification. I've always thought about like maybe going back and like getting back into like when I was really doing like meditation classes and things like that because I was really tuned into it at that point. But I think it's like I know it's still there, but like I feel like kind of like out of practice with it.
Well, anything needs practice. Everything's a muscle,
Mhm.
you know. So if you don't, I don't think that magic or Reiki is necessarily something that if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
I haven't, you know, being out of training for so many years, I've lost some of my vocabulary, but the ability is steady and strong because I kind of I utilize connection daily. I live in a realm of connection. That is where I love to be. And so that when I am needed, I can go right into action.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, you did great. You moved it very beautifully and we got it down and then we charged you back up from the stone into your
Hmm.
body to fill that void. And then you have like, I watched your breathing changed, your tone of voice, you
Yes.
stopped shaking, the jitters left, and all you were like, I'm feeling better. I'm like, oh, good. And I knew because you're going to be a little dizzy after because Reiki energy has got a very high frequency. So we feel a little bit high after, which you said. And when we were, I said, when you're ready, you can release the rock when you feel like it's all gone. I had you stamp your feet to get rid of it, stamp it out. And that was it. That's all we had to do. And that connection and those entities that were there were being pushed out through the filtration. And the dark one that was hanging realized this is not where he is welcome.
Yeah.
And he just fucked off.
Good. Good. So, okay, like it really was one of the like I've never had something like that happen to me before. That was one of the craziest things in my life. Like, so like if I were ever to find myself, you know, alone or not to have like a witch that I'm staying with, what would I even have done in that situation? Would I have just been tweaking until like forever? Like what should I have done if I was just by myself?
Well, first of all, of course,
I should have been grounding and shielding from the very beginning.
shields up.
Yeah.
Shields up, baby. Always. But if you forget, and I've had those moments where, and I went in, I found a meditation that helps me remember really quickly how to shield. And now I do it automatically. But there was a time, even as a Reiki master, when I forgot to do it, I could go to a mall. Remember those? Go to a mall, and by the 3 hour, 2, 3 hour, because you spend all day at the mall. Give me, come on. A couple hours into it, I'm just like,
Yes.
taking on all this stuff that's bumping into your aura, you know? So that once you train yourself in shielding, there's many different ways to do it. If you forget, or even if you shield and there's a weakness or something happens, and yes, you get an attachment, you need to find something that goes into the earth. If you're a water sign, find water.
I'm not a water sign.
You're fire, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So you can't burn something. You can light a match and stare into that flame for a few seconds if that helps, or a candle. If you are in public, you're not able to do that. Always earth is easy, and water too, because you can always find a faucet somewhere, like in a bathroom. Turn a faucet on. Just just focus your energy. Let's see if I can do this with this camera. Hold on. You focus your energy into your hands, and you let it ball up, and then you drain it into the water. Just let it keep going until you feel like you're clear. You can also, again, find a rock, find a tree, find a bush, sit with your feet on bare ground. If you're able to go barefoot, even better. But as long as your feet are on the ground or a natural substance, let it pour into, and always remember to fill as you pour out. That was, you know, I'm getting notifications now from what is this? What are we on YouTube?
It's notifying you that you're live on the internet. No, I mean that definitely. So like when I got into the habit of like when I was going through an air, because like that sort of thing always happens to me at the airport, and I don't. And this is one of the reasons I don't even like traveling anymore. Is I hate being at the airport. It's just like one of the most miserable places in the world. But like when I was traveling a lot, what I used to do would be to like imagine just like this like bubble of white light around myself. So it was like, and it's actually kind of fun to do it because like I'm walking through some of the busiest airports, but people keep a perimeter around me. They don't come near me. So it's like I'm like protected from all the icky airport energy. Yep. It just never occurred to me to do it when I was like sitting. I was not expecting the presenter to be possessed by a demon. So it didn't even occur to me to do it, but lesson learned for sure.
Well, not even just that one the one speech you went to, but that whole conference is full of very sick people.
Yeah, it was.
Bless their hearts.
Yes.
Mentally, emotionally, energetically, and some physically. Bless them. We're all on our own journeys here. But there were some very sick people there. And like, as soon as you know you're going to be in that place, you just shields up. Whatever you do. Maybe we can talk about that sometime, like how to do shielding, because
Yeah.
it's so important.
We should definitely do that, but like I would love to hear more about your experience, because like I've been around this stuff before, and I watch so much of it that I feel like I'm very desensitized to it at this point. But like, you kind of came into the belly of the beast with me and went undercover at this thing around all these crazy people, and like, as a spiritually attuned person, what was that like for you?
Do you know,
You were much nicer to them than I was. Like, I was like Jennifire went to this one sex toy session. I was like, Jennifire, you need to get pictures of everything and fuck these people. And Jennifire's
that's
like,
the one I was in.
no.
That's the one I was in when we were getting the demons. I was with the sex toy. Well, that's what it was.
I turned my recorder off during the private moments, and I was like, Jennifire.
Well, people were sharing their names and their intimate stories, and it didn't feel right. But it felt to me like going to the Renaissance Fair or any of the other pagan festivals that I've gone to over the years. There are a lot of very damaged people that are attracted to, you know, spirituality, higher levels of spirituality. Even, and I'm sure that there's some Christians that I've encountered, in Jude's, all the religions have encountered people in search of love. They're not even in search of truth. They're in search of companionship, love, and they need healing. So they bring their sick bodies to these places. Now, a lot of them go to places like the Ren Fair and the pagan festivals I've gone to, because they're very open there. They're very accepting there. You can come as you want to. You can be a fantasy. You don't have to be yourself. And these people don't like themselves. That's why they want to dress up and do these things. And that's okay. If it's an outlet, it's an outlet. It's depending on how overboard you go. But I mean, if it's an outlet, it's an outlet. But it felt like that to me. Like, this is just a festival for people who need connection. And they're not going to connect to me, though. That's not going to happen. We're turning that off.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really great way to describe it, because I mean, and that's what's so scary to me about specifically like queer culture, is that, you know, it is so accepting of people. You can just be who you are. You can dress however you want. You're going to be treated really well. Everyone's going to be nice to you. No one's going to make fun of you. And it's like one of those things that, like, for awkward kids or people that don't necessarily want to like assimilate to like normal or like whatever, it can be a very appealing thing to get into, but it's also just, it's a lot of sick people.
Yeah. And they're very needy. Because I think there's like people we've all had sickness and illness in our lives. And I'm not just talking about getting the cold. I'm talking about, like, mentally, we've been unwell at some point in our lives, emotionally, energetically. You know, all of the levels of our body have been ill at some point in time. Normal people have friends, family, maybe even their own spirit guides, or however they seek comfort and healing, and they work on it. People who are not capable of that, or who are what I call energy vampires or leeches, they're going to attach to someone who's healthy, who's a giver, and they're going to be the taker. Like, you learned a little bit about this in narcissism. It's food.
Yeah.
And that's what they want from you. Now, they may not be in the narcissistic definition of things, but energetically, it's the same thing. They want to pull from you because they don't know how to create it themselves. And that can create a drain on us. And you'll notice if you hang out with someone, you're like, man, I'm always so tired after we hang out. That's because they're using you. It's not okay.
Yeah. Man, what a crazy, crazy, crazy experience. But I was really glad to be able to have it with you, of like all people. I think that actually it was fate that made that happen, to be honest. Because I don't know if I would have been able to get through that if you hadn't excised me in the middle of Boulder. So
just remember, grab something to ground and release and refill.
Man, let me get to a couple super chats that came in. Mac B says the spirits must have found joy in Karlyn's stress about the situation, and that's why they must have attached to her and her energy and spirit. What do you think about that?
I think that's valid. That's the first inkling. Like, a friend of mine said to me, because I had a visitation when I was just starting to study higher magic, and it was a terrifying visitation. We'll have to tell you the story sometime. But I was so scared, and I said, why? How did they know? How did they know I just started doing this and now they're visiting me? And he said, because it's a dark room. Imagine you're in a dark, dark room and this little flame lights up and you go, ooh, what's that? And so you were that little flame in that room that was self-aware, healthy. You probably weren't the only healthy person in that room, but you were definitely the only person aware of what the fuck was going on. and healthy at the same time.
Yeah. There were multiple people with multiple personality disorder in that room.
Bless them.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Wow. I have a hard enough time with my own inner thoughts.
And it's like they were all talking from the point of view of all these different entities. And I was just like, and they were all around me too. Cause like I was like in the middle of the room and there were like all these people like on both sides of me. And I was like, that was another thing that was really I was freaked out about because I was like, I'm surrounded.
Yeah. Well, you could be in a room of 20 people, but you're really there with 100 entities. Yeah. So that's overwhelming. Yeah.
It's a lot. Mama Tembo, good to see you, Mama Tembo. I love this stream so much. It's nice to see both of you get to enjoy a chill stream during the insane reality we're all being subjected to. Yeah, reality sucks, man. Like that's it's like no politics, no drama, no bullshit on this show.
Maybe a little bit of bullshit. We can have a little bit just for some fun.
A little tiny bit. Well, do you have anything else you want to say about that entire experience in general?
You know, I kind of do. I'm trying to think how I want to word this because, you know, as having been someone who has gone through multiple paths and has changed my mind about different things as I've grown, but I really have come to appreciate the paths that we tread. And so when I approach things like this, and especially going to that convention, I wanted to appreciate the journey these people were on and really kind of understand who they were and where they were. And it wasn't just queer agenda people or, you know, all of that. The thing that I think touched me the most were the mothers, the parents, because their kids are coming out as, you know, non-binary. Most of them, it was non-binary. They weren't saying my kid's gay because who needs therapy for that these days? You know, I mean, if you do, you're a little behind the times, but bless you if you're going to try. I appreciate that. But these moms wanted to understand why their child suddenly wasn't a girl anymore or wasn't a boy anymore. And it's like, and it's not just they're gay or they're cross-dressing or anything like that. These children literally thought they had no gender or they could switch it anytime they wanted. And these parents are like, I just want to love my kid. And they're not. I think the problem is that the kid was not accepting the parents. Mm-hmm. And the parents are trying to learn how to be accepted by their children, how to nurture them and parent them properly and support them. And they didn't understand it. It isn't that they were like, well, this is fucked up and you're the devil and get out of my house. No, it's not even, that's so last century. This was, I need my kid to understand that I'm trying to understand and I don't want to insult them when I talk to them, but everything I say pisses them off and I don't know what to do. Is there something? I went to one about brain chemistry. Remember that one? Yep. Are the brains of non-binary or gay or trans people different? The lovely presenter, who was an adorable, just a great person, seemed quite healthy, lesbian, had her girlfriend with her in the room. They were just a lovely couple. And she said, here's all the scientific facts. And at the end of it, she said, there's no difference. We cannot find a difference in the brain chemistry. And one of the mothers raised her hand and she was like, I came here to like try to understand the mind of my daughter. And you're telling me there's nothing. She's like, I'm not saying there's something wrong with her, but you're saying there's nothing different about her. And they said, no. And she goes, so this isn't a chemistry thing. This is actually a belief. And I went, boy, that's rough. That's rough. And my heart was really, every time and I wanted so badly to go up to them. There was one mother in one of the groups I went to, we were talking about, it was a past life trauma that we are dealing with through generationally. And I got the big bad daddy of them all. I got the death trauma. And I'm like, oh, that's great. So I won't go into it here, but one of the moms next to me, I just said to her, I said, what you're doing is good work. Being a mom is the most important thing in the world. And I love that you're trying to help your kid. So just keep walking that sacred journey. You're a priestess. And she was like, she almost cried. She was like, thank you. I needed to hear that because she just feels like she's completely out of her depth.
You know, I mean, and that's interesting to hear because I mean, I think that you have a lot more patience for this stuff than I do because I think that I'm just like in it all the time. And sometimes I feel like I lose my humanity towards these people. But I've also thought a lot about how, like to a great extent to do what I've been doing for a while. Like, I feel like I've had to put myself completely in their shoes and see the world from their perspective. And so I understand what you're saying in terms of like, they're on this journey and it's like, it's one of those things that I feel like, Okay, it's gonna sound like I'm patting myself on the back, but that's not actually the point I'm making. I just don't know a better way to articulate it.
Speak your
I
truth.
I feel like I have more empathy for these people than I think most people understand, and I've thought a lot about how cruelly, like, people in, like, the anti-woke space or, like, on the online space treat these people. Not just, like, the kids that are, like, experimenting with this stuff, but also the parents that are going through it and just, like, the lack of empathy, and it's like, you claim to want to get rid of this, but you're only driving the people that are in it further in it because they don't have any place to go. Do you really think they're going to be welcome when you're going to be constantly ridiculing them for having a non-binary kid? And that is actually something I've thought a lot about and something I've struggled with, especially like this year in terms of just like I feel like the vitriol around this has just gotten so great and so just like on like like people think I don't have patience. I like you're like there are people that are getting canceled for working a cashier's job at Home Depot for posting something on the internet or like parents that are being dragged through the mud because of something that their kid did when they like it is just like yo like everyone has lost their humanity on this specific issue, and I feel like as much as I'm kind of like, very brash and like to the point about things, I feel like I could have been a lot worse if I hadn't so fully immersed myself in what this is. Does that make any sense at all?
What you're expressing is that you actually have compassion in an arena that is not focusing on that or is uber focusing on it in a forceful way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree with you that people have gone crazy. And this is another reason why I agreed to do the show with you, is because I wanted your audience to see your soft underbelly. I mean, you're such a caring, compassionate person, and you're so good. And when you're
Don't
talking
give away
about
my secrets, Jennifire. I'm not caring and compassionate. I am harsh and fiery and a bitch.
well, that too. That's your hard candy exterior, but you got a soft nougaty center. And I wanted people to be able to get to know you a little bit more in that holistic sense. I mean, yeah, you know what? I can be a bitch too. People don't believe I have a temper. I have a really bad temper. And they're like, I don't believe that. I'm like, oh, just live with me long enough. You'll see me throw something eventually. But we're multidimensional creatures. And the cancel culture, whether it was canceling, because people were getting fired for voting for Trump, for God's sakes. Divorces happened. Yeah. When Obama got elected and then Trump got it all started. I'm not going to go on a tangent, I promise, but it started a long time ago where people suddenly found acceptance and support with hating someone. Yeah. Instead of loving and being understanding and going, we can have, like, I can be friends with someone I fully disagree with politically, because I can compartmentalize that and I can just let that go. And I can remember I love everything else. I love the 90% about you that I understand, and you're my friend. That 10% that, has this whatever thing that I don't agree with, just so what? So what with that? Yeah. But that's the thing, that people are getting more support for their hatred these days than they are for their compassion. They're getting ridiculed for being compassionate. And remember the whole birth control thing. Like, people are like, well, they're firing people because they want to have birth control at work. Why is that such a problem? And this has been going on for a while. We just have new topics now, and we are finding more red hot button issues. But people they can jump up and down. Oh, look at this! It's a human rights thing, and it's like, you're just being an asshole, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think and I think that this is true on both sides. I think people are addicted to being outraged. And I think that's like one of the most dangerous things. And I definitely felt this, like, and I think that Twitter is like one of the worst platforms. And I know you're like on Twitter, but you're not really on Twitter.
I don't remember my password. I can't sign on to it to even delete my account.
Yeah. I mean, and it's probably for the best. Like, I kind of wish I didn't have to be on Twitter, but I feel like I do have to be on Twitter. Yeah. But like, it's one of those things where I've talked about this a million times, but I'll talk about it again. Like, I got permanently banned from Twitter for a month. I think it was at the end
a permanent
month. Well, I had to get 3 letters from the state of New Hampshire to get the ban overturned, because they banned me for posting a state email address. They said that I was posting private information. And I was like, it's a state email address, you morons. Like, It literally is. Anyway, so once I got 3 letters from the state of New Hampshire saying it's a public email address, you idiots, they unbanned me. But it was honestly, it was one of the best things that probably ever happened to me, because when I got banned, I was in it. Man, I was like addicted to it. I was in outrage culture all the time. And what happened when I got banned is all like I have like 9,000 Twitter accounts, but I have obviously like my one main account. The Twitter algorithm for my main account disconnected from all the other accounts. And then almost immediately, so I could still log into Twitter, I could still see stuff, but all of a sudden I started seeing like spirituality and mindfulness. And I was like, where the fuck was this?
Like, the rest of the world is still there.
Exactly. I was like, oh, I get it. Twitter is the cave, and the algorithm is the shadow on the wall. And now I'm disconnected, and I'm going out, and I'm kind of like seeing like different things than what I was being shown before. And I was like, oh my god. And like for that month, I like, you should have seen me talk. Like, I was making Joshua do readings all the time. Like, Joshua, when am I getting my Twitter account back? When is it happening? He's like, Karlyn, calm the hell down. It's gonna happen in a month. But like, as they kept going, I was like, the addiction was like working its way out of me. And like, I remember around the 2 to 3 week mark, and I've always told people this, like, if you want to get over an addiction, it's not the first week, it's the 2 to 3 week mark that kills you. Yeah. Because that's when your entire body starts rebelling against you. And I was like, I remember how bad I was. I was like, shit, I was like, but I want my fucking Twitter account back on. But then once I got to like that 30-day mark, it was gone. And then it was the funniest thing. The minute that I was kind of like, okay, you know, I'm kind of feeling okay, Twitter account comes back. And Joshua and I had actually talked about this, where he was like, Karlyn, if you get your Twitter account back, what are you going to do differently this time? And I was like, well, you know, I'm probably not going to be engaging in as much bullshit as last time. And I'm not going to be posting state email addresses on the Twitter account anymore. And like, I mean, I really did too. Like, I mean, when I got my account back, I made a special priority to follow all these like mindfulness and positive energy accounts. And I was like liking all their posts just to change the algorithm. And like, once I started doing that, I started seeing different stuff show up in my feed. And I kind of like just kept reminding myself, like, I never got sucked back into that outrage culture again. And I look around at a lot of people, and many of them have banned me, but I can look at them on other accounts, right? And, you know, I see them and they're spiraling downward. And like, it really is insane to watch. Like, people that I used to know, that I used to be friends with, I won't name any names because we're not going to do drama, but like, whatever. But like, you know, it really is a sad thing to watch though, because it consumes these people. And you can tell just by looking at their feeds, they're constantly like looking for new things to be upset about. They're constantly like rage posting and complaining all the time. And it's like, you literally spend 8 hours a day tweeting. Like, I can tweet a lot, but I'm not pissed off all the time. Like, but like, you can tell just by like all capital letters and like all this stuff, like, that's going to kill you at some point.
Well, and just that kind of level of anger does cause disease in the body.
Yes. Disease is dis-ease.
Yep. It is dis-ease. And it is, you can have a mental dis-ease and you can have emotional and physical. Of course, I'm always going to go through all the levels because I believe we are multi-dimensional, multi-level beings. And these things there, it is going to affect you. I mean, you can make yourself sick by thinking about things that are sick. I don't know if anybody's had that experience. I've had it once where I called in because I didn't want to go to work one day, more than many days. And I actually felt like I had a cold by the end of the day. Like, I literally mind talked myself into being sick until I actually got sick. And because the mind is the most powerful organ in the body, and it can really manifest some shit. You don't believe me? Think about, I mean, there have been times, I'm sure everybody has had an experience where they thought of something and it happened, or it got close, you know, like it began to happen. So yeah, I worry. It's like these people they're making themselves mentally ill by giving into the mental weakness of these subjects, and the content creators as well. They're doing things for clicks, and they're only facilitating and furthering. They don't believe in this shit. No. And one gal who was like, oh, I can't afford my apartment anymore, and groceries are crazy. Meanwhile, she is just sitting in this gorgeous tits 2-bedroom apartment, and it came out later that she's like a total pampered little housewife who has no debt because she sponges off her husband or whatever it was. And it's like, it's all just for clickbait. Like, you can't trust things anymore. And we have to know that and protect yourself going into anything.
Yeah, no, it's so incredibly true. And like fun fact, I actually once got canceled for saying exactly what you just said, that like
Oh,
if you have like insanity going on in your head, that's going to make you physically sick.
yep.
Now, I may have said it in a little bit more of a trolly way than you did though. So maybe I deserved it to some extent, where I basically I said, I was like, you're making yourself sick and it's going to be entirely your fault. Which is that's not the kindest way to say something, but it is true, and I don't regret it. But it's like, but I mean, I like that's a really like, again, I've seen people that I knew that I was once friends with, that not only do they change emotionally, but some of them have just changed massively, physically, where if I was walking down the street, like, I would not recognize them. Either they gain a ton of weight, or they lose a ton of weight, or their face just completely like morphs into like, I mean, like, you like people say, like, you wear your energy like all over your face, and that's very, very true. And it's terrifying for me to watch it sometimes, because I'm like, someone did a couple, like, I knew this one guy that did a complete physical transformation within 3 months. And I was like, yo, like, that's not healthy at all.
Yeah, when it's literally the story of Gollum from Lord of the Rings, where he was this sweet little river hobbit, and he got so obsessed with something that he not only disconnected from his tribe, he killed somebody, disconnected, and then I love that little beginning. I think it's of the third movie, where he's like, we forgot the taste of bread. And we forgot daylight, and he's in the cave just staring at the ring. And that's what and he physically transformed into this horrifying little creature that was just pathetic and weak and lonely and sad. And this is why I worry about, like, the basement trolls that can't get out, or the what do we call the guys that are voluntary incels.
Incels.
I worry about this. I'm like, get out of your house, go somewhere uncomfortable, because when you challenge yourself, that's the only way you can grow. It's the only way you can keep the vibe of life in you, or at least have a fucking house plant. I mean,
Yeah.
do something. These people, they're all turning into little golems. Bless them. It's gotta be horrible.
Well, and I think things are only going to get worse with like AI and stuff like that, because I think people are only going to get more and more addicted to this stuff. And it's one of those things where it's like, you can't cheat your way out of this. You actually just have to like control yourself, and not get too attached to it. And remember that it's just like the internet. Like most of the things that people say they don't even care about, most of it isn't true. And it's just like, to see so many people, and I think the Gollum with like the ring is a really apt example, because that's what I feel like I'm looking at when I'm on Twitter most of the time, with these people that are just tweeting all the time because they just want that dopamine hit from the one person liking their tweet, or oh my god, an influencer retweeted me, or any of that thing. It's like they're constantly staring at that thing, and what they don't realize is that it's never going to be enough. Like, it's never going to be it. Like, you're always going to be striving after that next thing. And it's just like even if you achieve something like really great, like, it's just not going to, like, it's not going to be fulfilling for very long, because you need to keep feeding the addiction.
Well, it's just like anybody who's like an adrenaline junkie. They want to go do the roller coasters, and then when roller coasters aren't enough, they go do bungee jumping, and when that's not enough, then they go do skydiving. There's always the next level of thing, and it's just the same level of like being a drug addict. You have your gateway, then you're like, I need another high, I need the better high, I need the next best thing, and they keep going. And whether it's adrenaline, drugs, or outrage culture, it's the same need, that nothing is enough because they're not finding it here.
Crazy. We got a couple more super chats. Let me get these real quick. Cool live stream, and thanks for staying positive, Karlyn. Lifeline away from that negative energy. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for being here. I imagined flames to get rid of a mind parasite. It kind of looked like what you'd imagine hell looks like. Try that.
Burning it away mentally. That's actually a kind of a higher magic technique, which is very interesting, Liz Lizard, because higher magic is all mental. You don't use physical implements. You can, but it is all mental. And if you can find a way to rid yourself with symbols. I used to have a strange idea. I was financially struggling, and all of a sudden I would get this. I was working at a bank, but it wasn't a nice job. I was working in forced insurance. It was terrible. So like I would put insurance on cars when people forgot to get their insurance when they had a loan, and I got all the angry phone calls. I was putting
Oh
cars.
God,
It was
that's
terrible. So, but they had these big stone tables outside, and that's where I'd go outside and eat my lunch and read. And I kept having these weird visions of like my head slamming on the concrete table and my teeth falling out. And it was just this weird flash that would happen. And for me, that's a psychic or a mental flash. That means that I'm worried about my finances, which I was, because your teeth are connected to your finances, your ability to nurture, nourish, and feed yourself, literally. So if you have dreams like your teeth are falling out, it's
okay.
usually about money or providing in some way. So I kept, and it was bothering me to the point where like I would think about it so much I'd get a headache, and I'm like, this is dumb. So I would visually give myself, those old suits of armor with like the,
Yep.
and I would imagine that ding, and I protect myself, like it would hit instead of me, and then the vision began to fade, and I felt much better. But anytime I feel threatened like that, like someone's gonna hurt me, I just made an armor and just let that hit the armor instead. So that's a higher magic technique. If you can do flames and burn it, or a river to drown it, or whatever you can do, whatever works. It's very individualized and in per vision too.
So when you say higher magic, so you mean just like so like is it just like about visualization and like belief that you're doing whatever you want to do, like pure like belief in it? Am I explaining that correctly?
Yeah, so more or less, yeah. So basic magic is and earthbound magic, you are going to use symbols. Like you're going to have something that represents fire, earth, water, air, the five elements, spirit being the fifth. And you would create your space with something that represents each thing. In higher magic, you don't use physical things. You do the power of the mind, and you either use your hand athame, or you can use a knife or a wand, but you usually with higher magic, it's just your own fingers. And an athame usually is 2 fingers. You can do 1, but they usually do 2 because it feels more strong, So then you would point out and you would call the corners of your sacred space with nothing but your mind and your own energy. And it's all visualized, and manifestation is a form of that. But you can use pure manifestation without physical, like doing a spell per se. That's a bit more of your lower earthly bound magic. Higher magic is all mental power. And that's what I was studying when I got the visitation, which was, whew.
That's crazy. We should definitely talk about that visitation sometime, but
Yes.
I want to keep it like high level, like maybe lighter topics. We've already talked about a demonic possession, so we can talk about your demonic possession next time, Jennifire.
I didn't get possessed.
But like, so with manifesting, so it's interesting you say that, because I'm not a witch. I don't really know that. Like I kind of studied a little bit in college, but then I just forgot it basically as soon as I did it. I was never like really practicing or anything like that. I just kind of like understood the basic mise en scène. But like with manifesting, I don't even do physical things anymore. Like I always Joshua used to have me like light a candle for like a new moon or full moon, or like write down lists or things like that. Or sometimes like he'd have me do like some like minor spell stuff. But like, when it comes to manifesting, I pretty much just, at least for me now, like visualize like what I want and how I'll feel when I get it and meditate on that. And that's kind of like the only thing that I do anymore. Is that what you're like kind of what you're talking about?
For the purpose of manifestation, yes, but that is not higher magical spell work.
Well, right, yeah. I'm just trying to get a sense of like what you mean by it.
So yeah, again, it's all up to the imagination. If you're like you said, you're envisioning something, you want it to become into your reality. The only way you can bring it to reality is to, like you said, feel how it feels when it's there, and to remind yourself to focus on it frequently, so that it becomes part of your vibe, and the universe goes, you want this? I have that right here. Here, let's bring this together for you. And so, yes, in that way, it is manifestation is very much a mental focus.
Okay. How did you get into all this stuff? Because you grew up in a Christian cult. I know, because Jennifire was on a previous episode of DISENRAGE to tell us all about it. So how do you go from Christian cult to witch?
Well, it's funny because I had a lot of kind of guides and guardians along the way. I always felt spiritually and energetically connected to nature and things that the Christian church didn't teach. And I also had this instinct not to share that. Like if I would try to experimentally share, and my church friends would just be like, you're weird. And I found the things that I was, how do I even say this? It's going to sound like, I'm going to sound like a crazy person, but the visions that I had, it's like I instinctively had the framework already inside me. That's why and I had people tell me, even when I was still a Christian, oh, you're a natural witch. You were born with it. You must be an ancient soul. You've had training, and now you're just born in this body. You just happen to be in this shitty church. When you get out of that, you're going to find your full potential. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Okay, yeah. But that was the journey. Is I had a lot of people encouraging me, and talking about that I was a witch or a white witch or whatever, or an earth witch or blah 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 blah. Not a sandwich, but like the nice kind. And when I finally left, and I thought, I'm going to look at all the things they said I can't look at, because there are things I'm attracted to: crystals, candles, scrying. Candle magic was one of my first loves because it made sense to me. I don't know why, but it just did. And when I started experimenting, especially going into crystal shops, oh, my heart.
I love crystals. Those are the best.
I felt more spiritually fed in there than I did walking into church, because I knew what they were going to say in church. They're going to talk about what a sinner I was. And when I walked into a crystal shop, they would ask me, what did I need to heal myself? And they would say God. They wouldn't say like, Beelzebub the devil accepts you. I mean, like, it wasn't Satan worship, like they tried to tell us in church. These people are like, what do you need on your journey? You need some rose quartz. You need a nice loving energy. And they'd find this little piece of rose quartz, and I held it and I go, oh, that does feel good. God created quartz. God created love. Why couldn't he make this have a vibration? Like, it made sense to me. It seemed like a natural path. I was exploring the next level of God's world. And it just became a natural thing. I hope that answered your question.
Well, I mean, but in like going down like the crystal road for, like I said, like this is one of those things that I don't understand when Christians make fun of it, because it's one of those, it's like this is a rock. God created this rock. This, like, do you think that God didn't have like divine intention with creating this? Yeah. Exactly. It's like these things are here for a reason. They didn't just and so why like, if God is all powerful, God is great, God loves us, why wouldn't God put healing in just like even like the simplest things that God has created? It doesn't make sense. And like, when I go into a crystal, I don't know if you've had this experience, but I feel like anytime I've gone into a crystal shop, it's like one of those things where like, if you're supposed to get a crystal. It's like you can't force it, right? Like there have been times when I've been like going and looking for like a certain crystal, and even if they had that kind, I was like not feeling it. But like, when you pick up a certain crystal, that is supposed to be your crystal.
It's true. It is true. Well, and I think, if I may, and I mean no disrespect, because I love Christians, I love Christianity, and I don't mean any disrespect. I think a lot of Christians intrinsically know this. One of the jobs of the old church was to separate spirit and spirituality from man so that they could be in control. So any ancient teachings and knowledge about hands-on healing, which is what the prophets did and what Jesus did, we used to, like, my Reiki masters both called Jesus the original Reiki master.
Oh, yeah.
And like that kind of thing, hands-on healing, all that stuff, crystals, potions. When I say potion, I don't mean bibbidi bobbidi boo potions. I mean like herbal concoctions that were medicinal. The first medicine was transformed into witchcraft and killed thousands upon hundreds of thousands, millions of people in plagues, because they weren't allowed to seek the help of witches who were just doctors. They were just the original wise women. And men, honestly, there were a lot of men burned at stake too for practicing witchcraft, which essentially was an old world medicine. But the church had to be in control, so they took that away. They said, you pray to God, you give us your money, and you pray to God, and you don't do any of this other horse shit over here that actually was working for thousands of years before we got here. We're right, you're wrong. Here's the basket,
Yeah.
So.
And it's funny, like my husband, he might like my well, I don't know if he'll be mad at me for telling this story, but like I have this one crystal I wear around my neck called Numite, and that's kind of like that's my crystal. It's dark, it's very, very old. It's like from volcanoes and stuff like that. That is like my thing that I wear all the time. Like I never travel without it. I got my husband one, just like this little kind of like disc type thing, and like he put his hands around it. My husband doesn't do any of this stuff, and he's like, Karlyn, I can feel this buzzing. I was like, aha, I know you can,
Oh,
right?
nice.
And I remember the first time like I got Numite and I was like holding it in my hand for a while. I couldn't sleep that night. Like that's how like charged that thing was. But I got my husband one, and now he won't leave the house without it being in his pocket.
Oh, that is so cool. Mine's hematite. I have husband got me this one. Remember when we thought we had to put Phelan down last December? This is a healing bracelet with amethyst for love and psychic wholeness. And then it's got hematite, and I think it's got black onyx for balance.
There you
go. I just absolutely love this. Yeah. Hematite's my jam. I love hematite. I know people who can't touch it, and I'm like, give it to me. Give me a bath of it. I love hematite.
No. What is the other one that I like? I like all the black crystals. Although I don't really have many black crystals sitting on my desk. Like this is probably the closest one I have to black, which is smoky quartz. But I got this in this is Peru. This is one of the first. This is like the first big crystal, well, big relatively, that I ever bought.
When was the last time you cleansed that?
I need to cleanse it. I know.
I got a vibe off that thing. You need to cleanse that.
Well, you know what this is? This is the crystal that I use. I probably need to cleanse all the crystals on my desk right now, but like I used to use this when I was coaching as like my shield between myself and whoever I was
coaching. It's a negativity absorber for you, isn't it?
That's exactly what this is, the negativity absorbing crystal that sits between me and whoever I'm talking to, and takes
I think it's full.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I will cleanse the crystal. I promise. My God. This probably been sucking my negative energy lately.
We do it too. We make negativity too. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have not. I've not been diligent about cleansing the crystals sitting on my desk lately. I probably should give all them back.
That thing felt heavy to me. Like it's done.
Yeah. Poor smoky quartz. I'll take better care of you. I promise. I will honor you.
Well, you know you've overextended it if it cracks.
It hasn't cracked or anything.
Good. Well, and it's got a good geometric shape, so it's probably nice and strong. But I had a question for you.
Uh-oh.
I want to know, because you asked me, and I actually wrote a little list of things just in case, we had a lag and I needed, I always try to come prepared. I love my lists. So I wanted to know the same thing. How did you come about into more of a woo mindset?
I think I was always like interested in it. It was one of those things where I wasn't raised in religion. Like my like I come from a Catholic family, but my parents weren't Catholic. Well, my parents were Catholic, but my parents didn't raise us in the church or anything. In fact, they like the one probably good thing I can say about my parents is that they made the decision not to like force religion on my brother or I, because I think they felt they got enforced on, like religion forced on them, and they didn't want to do that, and they wanted us to make our own decisions. And so I never really had any sort of like religious kind of like system that I was a part of. I read a bunch of books in college just about, energy and spells and doing all that stuff. And I dated someone, almost married someone, and thank God I didn't, because it would have been exactly the wrong person that was like really into all this stuff. And like, but he was more into like dark stuff. He was more into like occult stuff. And it was like, and so that like, and I never really got into like occult stuff, but like he was very into it. And I think that I had some weird experiences around that, where like one night, like we were laying in bed, and like I woke up and saw a demon on the end of the bed, and that pointed at him, and I was like, roll over, go back to sleep.
Yeah, that was brave of you. I'd have been like, nope, be on.
Oh, well, I didn't really know what it was, right? I thought I was dreaming, but it was just like that's a whole other, we'll talk about that in another.
We'll have to do one on spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
I want to just say an amendment real quick. Occult does not necessarily mean evil or bad. It doesn't even necessarily mean dark. It only means hidden. But if people say that they're practicing the occult, like that's kind of a naive way of saying I'm a selfish witch or I do selfish magic, because dark magic is always around this person right here. Mm-hmm. It's always for the benefit here. It's never for the benefit of anyone else. That's black magic.
Yeah, well, that's
I wanted to clarify that.
That's kind of like, well, I appreciate your precision of language. That's like, there was a reason that he and I did not get married. And it's for the best. And I've kind of tracked him over the years and like checked in on his social media every now and again. And he's just gotten like darker and darker and darker. And I'm like, okay, well, bullet dodged, I guess. Wish him the best, whatever. But like, so I dated him, and then I kind of got out of it for a while, and I was kind of like, doing whatever. And I ended up finding it again, when I was like, it honestly came like, it's like I started getting back into like the law of attraction and like manifesting. And it was around when I knew I wanted to start my own business and be like work for myself full time. And I was like, all right, I'm going to manifest this much money in my bank account, because this is how much money I would I need to have to feel comfortable doing my own business. And so I started kind of like reading all the typical kind of like books and doing like stuff. And then I kind of I feel like I kind of backed into it, because I was doing a lot of mindfulness stuff with I was studying that a lot in terms of like, helping organizations with mindfulness practices. And I feel like it's, if you're honest about what mindfulness is, eventually you're going to back into like energy work. If you're not honest about what it is, you're not going to do that. Like, and some people, like, they're just like, they don't go that far. But I'm like, if our mind can do X, Y, B, and Z, then why can't our mind do A, B, and C? And so I kind of just started backing into it. And it was just kind of like one thing at a time. I started working with Joshua. Joshua taught me astrology. He taught me how to do tarot cards. Like, Joshua and I used to do whole classes on like, one-on-one classes. We were doing tarot cards and like reading books about tarot cards. And like, he taught me all that. And so then I like got into crystals, and I got into like really hardcore into meditation. And so just kind of like, I kind of fell into it and just started like doing all the things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like kind of a similar journey from a different origin as to me. It's like you trusted yourself. People said, oh, this might be bad, or this might be whatever guru weird shit that you shouldn't be listening to. For me, it was everything was the devil, everything was Satan. And I just went, that can't be right. That cannot be right. Why cannot God create these things too? And for you, it was more of a mental journey into, I need to flourish, and this is how I'm going to do it. And it felt like the nice vibe because it aligned with something in your core. And I think that's great.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those things too. It's like, I know there are a lot of people, and I'm sure you would acknowledge this too. There are a lot of crazy people that are like into like the woo woo. And so it's like, from one perspective, you understand why it kind of has the crazy reputation that it does. But from another perspective, it's like, if you're doing these things and it works and you have successes with it, and it gives you insight that you wouldn't otherwise have, like, it's kind of one of those things that you can't deny it. After, again, if you're being intellectually honest, you can't deny it. Just because other people are crazy doesn't mean that you're not having real and true experiences with it. And it was like one of those things where, like, every time Joshua made a correct prediction about something I should do and how it was going to work out based on tarot cards and astrology, it was like, okay, well, was this a self-fulfilling prophecy, or was this actually something that, just like he was working with the energy or whatever, like, does it really matter at some point? I don't know. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I think once you understand how it works and you start seeing the results of how it works, it's hard to be skeptical and to say that this is all just made up nonsense.
Well, as you say, the proof is in the pudding, and I think people who we call like crazy in the woo, they're very unbalanced.
Yeah.
They're way too into air. I have a little bit of a natural abrasion to people who are like way into the air, because then they get really flighty. And I'm a double earth. I'm like grounded as fuck. So like I run into someone like that, I'm like, I don't trust you. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're great. I just can't do it. And then there's people that this is what they're latching onto because they are ill. Like they literally are ill. So, and you have to find that kind of discernment is rough. But unfortunately, as we have discovered through your work and through many other things, the loudest, squeakiest wheels get the attention and the oil. And so it comes down to people who are really based and like understand it holistically. That's who you should trust. If you talk to someone who's like, I've got this one point of view and I'm going to bang this into your head, watch out. Watch the holistic. You want to find someone who's holistic, find a book or a resonance, something that resonates with you holistically. Always remember, there's never one answer to one thing. There's never one problem. You can't have one. So, but yeah.
For real. You can always look at things. This is another thing that's got me in trouble. As I say, you can always look at things from like multiple different perspectives.
Yeah.
People really don't like to hear that. My God. They really don't like to hear it at all.
Well, people want a simple answer. They want to, and again, forgive me, but like, because a lot of people do this, and it's not just, I'm not just talking about the Bible, but open a book and have all the answers right there for them. This is what you do to become successful. This is what you do to go to heaven. This is what you do to, have a happy marriage or whatever it is. Like, here's your formula. Follow this. And people like that because it's easy. But when you realize that nothing is easy, it actually becomes easier because you don't have to be in control all the time. Just kind of, okay, I can control this, and I'm gonna let the rest of that go, and I'm just gonna float. And I'm like Forrest Gump said, maybe it's all random, like a feather on the wind. And it's like, well, yeah, it is. You have control over certain things, and other things you just never going to control. Relax.
So that's the thing I have the hardest time with, is like letting go of control. And I know in my head, I just need to let go, and like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I can like put a thought out into the universe and I can manifest it if I want to. But like like in order to manifest, you have to let it go. You can't always be clinging on to it. Otherwise it's not going to work. That's the thing I have the hardest time with. I want to like, if I want something, I'm like, God damn it, I want it right now. Like, I don't want to wait. I don't want to allow it to happen in its own time. I want it now.
Remember one thing with manifesting: the universe favors speed. It favors speed. It wants to bring you the thing that you need the most, the thing that you want the most. It wants to align with you and bring that right to you. If you're struggling and you just keep this thing, maybe you should reevaluate if that's the right thing for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about you personally, Karlyn, but I mean the general you, the VOO. Some people go, I gotta be with this person. They're my soulmate. I have to have them. And that person rejects them, or they break their heart. And it's like, maybe they're not. Well, they're great, everything, but except for they're a drug addict. Well, then maybe they're not the right guy for you, or the right girl for you, or the whatever, the right rabbit. I don't care, whatever you're into. I mean, just they're not. You have to know when to cut your losses and accept and trust. And this is a thing that we all have trust issues now. I think like probably 99% of us have trust issues. We can, and this is why a lot of Christians go, when I gave my life up to God, I felt so much better. It's because they learned how to let go. They learned how not to have to control everything. It's not so much that God is controlling things for them. They stopped worrying about everything. They focused, and that's important. And we all have to do that.
Wow. So. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask in the chat? I think Jennifire and I are going to go for about another 13 minutes or so before we have to wrap up. So I think we've had a good chat for the first episode of DISENRAGE. I think we went all over the place.
I did see one that caught my eye. I'm going to see if I can scroll up to, I don't know if I can, I'll try, but it was about, here it is. RB, I'm a fire sign. Any stones I should avoid? No. And yes. I know that makes no sense. Here's why I said that. Because it's not just about your zodiac. It's not just about your elemental energy alignment. It's not just about your religion or anything. There's nature and nurture. There's so many levels to people. Find stones that feel good to you. Do they vibrate in a nice way or a bad way when you hold them in your hand? There's no formula that fire signs should never touch, blah, blah, blah. No, fire signs are naturally attracted to fiery things, red and orange, sometimes pinks, sometimes blues, because the hottest part of the flame is the blue and the white light. But you might find yourself attracted to something that people go, well, that's not what a fire sign should. You know what? Just forget those people. This is an individualistic thing. Find what works for you. Don't. And I'm saying that for everybody. Earth signs are naturally attracted to certain things. Air signs are naturally attracted to other things. That doesn't mean you can't cross-pollinate.
I will say, like, I would never buy, so not to be like not attracted to like a specific stone, but like when you, like, I think where you get the crystals from matters. Like, I will never buy from a crystal store that they don't allow you to touch the stones. That's like asinine. It makes no sense at all. I never buy from a crystal store where you go in and they have all these signs everywhere, like about stealing and theft and everything. Cause it's like, you don't understand this energy thing at all. Like, why are you even selling crystals? Like, this makes no sense at all. And so I'm very picky about where I buy them, like in terms of like, I don't like to see any of that stuff. But yeah, I agree. Like, there's no crystal that like someone shouldn't access.
Well, remember at the seminar that we went to, and I was like hugging the teacher at the end. He really was a lovely spiritual guide, and he was giving crystals away, and I picked one up, and it was like this beautiful, and I still have it. over there somewhere. Yeah, it's like I have this little dish kind of here that it's resting on. I have not been able to touch that crystal.
Huh.
It's very appealing to me. It feels like a smiley face. It feels very light and well intentioned, but I'm suspicious of it, and I don't know why. And I'm like, I haven't cleared it. I'm like, I want to know what you have to tell me, so I'm just gonna let you be. I'm gonna keep you here and just watch you, and just see what it does with the energy in my room. So far, it's been completely benign. I know this sounds weird, like I'm making it into its own entity, but energy to me is an entity. So, but I don't find that I can interact with it, as in hold it for any purpose, but I like that it's there because it reminds me of that person, and I think that's why I don't want to clear it, because I feel like that guy taught me a lot. I'm sorry, that
Them.
they yes, that they had a lot to teach, and I wanted to remember that lesson in the purest sense of it. So I've left it there, and when I look at it, I go, oh, hello, thank you for the reminder, and then I just leave it.
Let's see. Spiraling Monk has a question. What do you make of the afterlife and the deceased loved ones who visit us in dreams?
Whoa.
That's a big question.
That is a lot.
I remember the first time that like I was doing like a meditation, and all of a sudden the three grandparents that I knew, because I had a grandfather that I didn't really know, but like the three that I knew just showed up. And it was like that had never, this was like right when I was first getting into meditation, and that had never happened to me before. And it was just so real to me. And especially like my grandfather, who died very suddenly in like a car accident, like he showed up, and like my two grandmothers were behind him, and they were like, just like saying like, wanted to like let you know that we're okay, we're together. And that was that, like I woke up crying. It was like a really powerful experience.
What do I make of it? What I would say is this: is what did they do? What did sometimes our deceased? First of all, I believe. Now, I'm not saying this is true, because there's a difference between saying this is true and I believe. I believe that there is an afterlife. I believe that there are different kinds of afterlives. So I don't just think there's one outcome after you die. There are myriad possibilities. It does have a lot to do with your belief system here sometimes. So I would pay attention to who visited you, what they did, what they said. If you can take any message, if they just said, hey, I love you, or you're just hanging out with them. Like I've had a lot of random encounters where we're just hanging out, like, my grandparents or whatever. And it's just super chill. And it's just like, hey, we're just checking in. We want to hang out with you. We miss you. We're just hanging out. And I do believe that our spirits, one of the things we do when we dream is to leave our bodies, and maybe we play a little bit with people that we used to know, people who are still alive and people who have passed on. So whatever they said to you, listen to that. There could be a great message. It could just be fun. It could just be, hey, we're here. Like I said, checking in. It's just they love you and they want to touch base with you. They're giving you a call.
Spiraling Monk says, I've been getting a ton of help from my grandma in my dreams lately. Well, that's a good thing then.
That's so sweet. I love that. Yeah. I just had one with I just got to see two of my kitties that passed away.
Oh.
And I got to spend time with them, and it was just gorgeous. I just got to hold them and push them in my face and kiss them and tell them I love them. And I woke up and I just fucking bawled because I miss them, but it was awesome. They get to see them again. It was great.
Murphy's Pool says, so what happened that night after you got home? Never mind Murphy's Pool, okay?
You were there, Murphy.
Yeah, I just got movie night. I got drunk on rum is what happened. I got drunk on rum and yelled and passed out, and then yelled again and then passed out.
Oh my God. And then I think I sang some karaoke. I think we sang some karaoke that night.
You did. You guys were singing and talking until like early in the morning. And I remember I was like, I have to get up.
I kept telling her about like Karlyn's gonna be so mad at me, but she hasn't moved, so maybe she's dead. I don't know.
I was like vaguely aware of what was going on, but I was also so drunk at that point because like the rum is legit, okay? The rum is legit, and it's really good, and it just goes down so easy. And it was a stressful weekend, and we were celebrating. We were successful in our endeavor, and I was still drunk when I got up the next morning and had to go to the airport.
We didn't eat dinner either. I forgot to get the brajol out of the slow cooker because I was going to show off by giving you my brajol.
I know,
and it cooked to death. Like this is like brajol jerky. I was horrified because by the time I finally signed off with everybody, I walked into my kitchen. I'm like, something's burnt. No. I turned off the slow cooker. I'm like, well, that's done.
It happens.
It was so awful.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end it on. Jennifire's burnt dinner. Hey, I'll have to come back out again sometime, Jennifire, and you can make me dinner again and don't burn it this time.
Oh. That's what I get. Hey, I'm going to be posting the movie night poll here as soon as we sign off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be posting that in locals and in Discord. We are doing the Vietnam War this year or this weekend. So I think it was, I'm trying to remember, I don't have my thing pulled up, but I know it was Platoon, Full Metal Jacket,
Patton.
and no, Patton was last week. It lost.
Oh.
That's why we watched Inglourious Bastards.
Someone told me it was Patton. Okay, so
no, that's World War II. We're doing Vietnam this week, so it's yeah. So it was Platoon, Full Metal Jacket,
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now. Yeah. So I'll be posting those polls after we sign off here. So go vote. Your voice counts.
Awesome, guys. Definitely come and make sure to join us in the supporter Discord for movie night on Sunday at 8 p.m. Jennifire always does an awesome job at hosting it, and I really, really appreciate it. Go vote in the poll in locals or in the Discord, and there are links in the description below. And is there anything else you want to plug, Jennifire? Anything else you want to say?
Not at the moment. I am a writer. We do have a book coming out. I'm part of an anthology that's dropping in a couple weeks, but I think I'll wait till it actually releases before I announce.
Yeah, Jennifire is a wonderful writer. She definitely didn't dedicate a book to me that's an erotic fiction. That definitely didn't happen.
I totally didn't. I did not do that.
That's like probably one of the coolest things. I have an erotic fiction dedicated to me. That's pretty great. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed our inaugural return episode of DISENRAGE. Jennifire and I will be doing this each week on Tuesday at 9 p.m. And we're going to be doing a lot of different stuff. We're going to watch videos sometimes and react to them. We'll have conversations. Maybe we can even bring on a guest or two. I don't know. We can do lots of different stuff. If you guys have suggestions for what you would like to see, definitely let us know. I think we're both open to suggestion at this point, but we just want to have cool conversations and not be in politics and socialism and dystopia and drama and all that stuff. So
all things are connected, but we also need balance.
Exactly. This is the Balance Show. So we will see you guys back here next week, same time, same place. Please do mount the like button on the way out the door and take care, guys. And we'll see you next time. Bye.